Hey, thanks for joining us at Chopping It Up with the Keys. My name's Andre.
My name is Marcus Lewis.
And I'm Mike Murray.
All right, thanks for joining us. What do you think about this weather, man?
All right, man.
It's snowing.
I can use a snow day.
Oh yeah.
Just
it's snowing right now.
Is it snowing?
I think so.
Yeah,
when I came
it
in here,
looked
it was
like
like
it
starting
was
sleeting.
So it was sleeting a little bit, but I mean, where I park,
Mhm.
I may not have a car when I go back out. So that's more what I'm worried about, not about the snow.
Where you parking?
I park on the backside, and the parking what do you call it, the parking pay thing? It wouldn't work. I kept pressing, it was frozen.
Oh wow.
Well, the weather, when it's raining, they ain't gonna charge you. People ain't out here walking around anyway.
All right.
So,
So if I get told Mark is paying, all right, got it.
I got you.
Yeah, man. That's all I've been up to. Just trying to deal with this new market, man. And
Okay.
I think everybody's gonna feel it at some point. I know mortgage world we're feeling it, but I think it's gonna go around everywhere.
Do you think it's about to slow up? Like meaning like people trying to purchase right now?
I think it's gonna slow up in a sense of like, your not so well qualified buyers are probably not going to be able to do as much. Because they're already tight on their files anyway, and then you add interest rates going up. They're gonna be like, all right, well, I'm just chill out a little bit. But your well qualified buyers, they're still gonna be buying.
Still,
Yeah, they're still gonna be out shopping, paying well over asking price, and doing all that stuff. But thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, I slow up. I don't think our market's gonna slow up for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna slow up even with rates climbing up. I mean, people still about it. Historically low, man. I mean, shoot.
You're right.
2000 and
I think we got spoiled over this
Spoiled as hell.
COVID and the pandemic and seeing rates drop. How it dropped to where now like I don't want a 3.5 interest rate.
you better take that and run.
Yeah, a couple years ago we like, hey,
I'll take that.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, I think last time we were talking, back before COVID, I mean, we were at like 4.5, high fours, and like everybody was like refinancing. You know, like think about that. Like you were refinancing at like high fours, and now people got a little sense of 2, and they're like, yeah, no, I want no 3.4 or whatever. You're like, man,
and it's still great.
It's still good, man.
Yeah.
Back in what is it, 2022 now? Back in about 5 years ago, they were at 6.5%.
For real, 3.6.
Yeah, 3.5, 3.6. So I mean, I'll take it. My wife and I, we're buying a house. I'm like, I'm not complaining.
Yeah,
I don't think they're gonna go back down unless we never thought a whole COVID would happen, but something like that happened.
And government not shutting down. It is no way possible they're gonna let this stuff shut back down. To where, people gonna stay open.
They have to.
They gonna make sure we stay open.
We have to. I mean, we already lost so much. I mean, America, we're already in trillions of debt anyway. I mean, that's no secret, right? So like, you think about when we had COVID and we had to adapt with everything that was going on, and we start sending stimulus checks. That alone probably put us in even more debt. And then now, obviously we take care of military, take care of everything else, and then trying to just give out PPP loans.
Yep.
I mean, we've given out a lot of money within the last 2 years on top of the trillions of debt we already got.
Oh yeah, a lot of money got stolen too.
Yeah, and a lot of I wasn't gonna say anything, but
hey man, let's keep it.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say much.
Keep it real on here.
PPP.
Man,
Hey, we gotta keep it P.
Oh, pushing it P.
We pushing P over here on the Chopping It Up podcast.
Gotcha. I mean, I seen several people come up on the news, millionaires. I guess I don't know.
They're gonna get you. And pushing P, not pushing PPP.
Yeah. Definitely.
What about y'all? What's been new in y'all world?
Like you said, just getting buyers qualified. I know I've been sending a couple of people to you, and just trying to get them qualified. Like you said, trying to take advantage of it now because interest rate just will continue to go up. So to me now is the time to buy.
Yeah.
I think people trying to wait, thinking the prices go change and the interest rate go drop. No.
Nah.
So the best time right now, I'm trying to tell all my buyers or listeners, like, hey, let's go ahead and get on the market right now.
Why do you think people don't like? Why do you think people don't like trust it?
Information. I think people just don't have the information.
Hey, real quick, I want to introduce Dakia Knight to the room, to the podcast. Dakia Knight is the managing broker over.
We all must bow.
We don't.
Dakia,
We do not bow.
Dakia is the managing broker over at ICON Realty and the team lead of the key team, which Marcus and I are members of. How you doing today?
Hi, guys.
Hey, hey.
She's lit.
I'm not lit. We're going to edit that out. I'm not lit.
You can't see, but she's blushing underneath it.
You should. I just got a facial. You should be able to see that I'm blushing. If I, in fact, were blushing, this skin is flawless today. All right. But what I want to piggyback off of is that when talking about interest rates, talking about buyers, really looking at, we told y'all last year. We told you for the last 6 months. And we drilled it in you. Interest rates are going to increase eventually. Buy a house now. Y'all are like, I'm going to wean it out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to wait. It's going to be fine. Interest rates at the start of 2021, 3.22. No, 2022.
3.22.
2021 was
2022.
Yeah, no, the beginning of 2022, 3.22. Today, interest rates are hovering just above 3.5%. Like, it's just, we told you. And we didn't tell you, we can't predict when it was going to happen, but we gave you the golden star. So please listen to us.
And Fed's coming out with 2 more. They're releasing.
The prediction
they're
is
two more times of
this
reporting.
year.
So, I think, my opinion, I think they're going to increase one more time, and then the last one's going to decrease. But who knows?
So what does that mean in terms of like, as for a buyer, what does that mean for me in numbers? Like, okay, my month to month. What does that mean for me? Like, I want to buy a house. I know that interest rates are going up. Okay, so interest rates went up 0.5%. So you're saying, okay, they might go up again. So let's say they end up at 0.5% higher, or they end up at 4%. What does that mean for me? What's the difference in that in my month-to-month price?
So I'll say a quarter of a percent is about $12 to $15, which is 0.125. No, that's 0.25. So 0.5% can be about $70.
So not necessarily something to blow up a deal, but enough to make.
Oh no, yeah, blow up a deal. Yeah, I got a buyer today that called and she's like, I'm back on the market. It took me a while. She got a new job. She approved at like 359 or something like that, and she's like, I need a pre-approved letter. I got this house, and I was like, all right, yeah. And I was about to send it, and I was like, hadn't talked to her in a while. Looked at her based on what I quoted her at. I quoted her at 2.75 when we were looking.
Oh, yeah.
Now she's at 3.75, possibly 3.8 because her credit scores dropped, and like now she's not qualified for 359. She's got to go down to like 345 or 350 just to stay safe. It's her specific kind of loan, but yeah, it can destroy a deal. Or take it a step further if you go new construction. And I quoted you at 2.99 back in November, and now your house isn't closing until June, and we're waiting to floating that rate, and it was already tight. Yeah, you could be out of the house.
The one.
Yeah. And that's how you got to stay on top of like.
So explain that again. With new construction, why is this? What's
because most people aren't going to lock their rate up front. I mean, we got rate locks you can lock up to a year, but even that's risky with how backed up supply is, how backed up. I mean, Mother Nature. Builders are taking their time. Contractors are missing stuff, right? So if somebody, got on a contract in November and their closing date is August of this year, they're not going to lock that loan in November for a year because you don't really know if that lock's going to extend to where the closing date is going to be. So you rather wait until you at least break ground, got the foundation or whatever. But even then, like, it costs money to lock a loan that long because it's all about risk. So most people aren't going to want to pay thousands of dollars to lock a rate if they don't have it, especially if they're already tight on the loan to begin with. So if we're waiting another 3 months to get to like month 2 before construction's done, that's a difference between December, which was like we just talked about 3.25, and now 3.65 or 3.75 or whatever. Like that can destroy a deal. So that's the importance of like one, being real with the client, but also like just keeping clients up to date with like, bro, like you just said, like, don't wait. Like what are you waiting for? If you're approved and you're ready, just go ahead and buy the house. Like what are you waiting for? And then I don't know about on y'all end, but I feel like on y'all end, is it getting better with over asking price?
I'm sorry.
Is it getting better with people offering on over asking price?
I'm sorry.
No.
No. So that's what I'm saying. If it's not getting better with people getting over asking price and rates going up, so you got price going up and rates going up, you're just killing money.
Yeah.
So prices are not statistically, they're not increasing month over month like they did in 2021.
Okay.
However, rates increase. You get a whole point increase in rates, and then you lose what, $40,000 in purchasing power. Like for most buyers, a lot of buyers are really on that line when they get pre-qualified, and that's important. It's important to be very transparent. The buyer relationship is important for transparency and the lender to understand. Okay, well, where are we? How strong are we on this pre-approval? Because that one tick can change everything, and it can send it all into like this frenzy. Those new construction people, now those are how I feel bad for. If you've been waiting for new construction for a year and you were teetering that like 48% line, you probably don't qualify.
Yeah.
And there's no going back because those prices, yesterday's prices are not today's prices. Yeah. That is A1 for new construction, right? New construction, I mean, if we saw last year 12% increase in resale prices, that means that new construction also had to increase in the price of, they release a new subset of the subdivision. Prices increase, right? So you think that if you get released from this contract, you'll be able to get into a better contract? Unlikely.
I got a question for you. Is new construction still doing? Because I remember back in 2020, and we're going into the year of 2021. So if somebody was doing a new construction, they signed in 2020. They were quoting them at construction price in 2020. 2021 came, and then they got back with the buyer and was like, "Hey, wood went up, and now your construction price just went up 30,000." Like, is that still happening? Or
I'm gonna give y'all, it didn't happen to any of my new construction buyers. Now, it was in one of my new construction contracts. Didn't happen to the buyer, but I know that it happened to several buyers. But I think though, while supplies are limited, we aren't seeing this, like the surge. Lumber went up. It surged like 4 times the price of it was supposed to be, and so it's actually come back down. The prices of materials have not stabilized, but they're not through the roof like they were during that time period. It was that summer-ish, where it was like, wood, that's expensive.
You see somebody with some wood in the back of their like, he got money.
He got money. But I think that, who's to say when the spring market opens back up? So when the spring market opens back up. But here's the thing: we need more new construction, right? New construction keeps things going. When you have sellers, and when I say this, like there's a generation, the baby boomers, that subset of our market, they own a lot of our market, and they're just not selling, right? And that's just statistically proven. Okay, so if they're not selling and they own a big portion of our market, we've got to rely on new construction to get us out of this. And new construction isn't doing what we needed to do because, let's all look at 2007, 2008, when new construction was through the roof and they could not sell. They were selling them. And then how much new construction sat? How many subdivisions can you look at from 2008, 2009 where they had planned to build out the subdivision huge and they couldn't because there were no buyers?
Yeah.
Right? So I think new construction is playing that game, that whammy game of how safe should we be? But we also need them to be a little bit less reserved. That's not really right, but we need them to be a little less reserved. We need them to build houses, but at what cost are we asking them to build houses? Because it's a double-edged sword.
There was because the only reason I know is because my wife and I are doing new construction, and they told us that I think they can only do up to 4 new contracts a month. Like they were limiting the sales reps because they were. During 2021, they were just selling nonstop. But not only did they have to front that cost on the bill, they had to pay those agents a crazy amount of money because they were doing record numbers. And so now they put limitations on how many contracts they can write. So that's kind of contradicting what you were just saying of we need them to produce more, but they're limiting.
But can you think about it from the other perspective? Why would you?
Who perspective?
Their perspective, right? So you're going to limit because you're fronting a lot of overhead.
Correct.
Right? That's really the reason.
Oh,
it's
100%.
It's the cost because you're looking at long term, you're looking at least a 6 to 12 month build. No matter what you're building, you're looking at a 6 to 12 month build. That's how long they got to hold that. Right? Correct. I'm going to want to limit it too.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing. They're limiting it because they don't. It's the risk associated with it, and they're not trying to do it again like they did.
Yeah.
But the buyers are there. That's exactly. I'm literally saying the buyers are there. They want to buy. They want to build. Yeah. But we've got to open up the inventory to give it to them.
That's the loan. These guys are gonna open it up for him. Yeah, y'all gonna open it up, right?
Hey,
You see, they're building all these condos in Richmond in the city, so it's a lot of stuff going up. It's just not necessarily single family homes. Like they're building bunch of condos we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, they're building a lot of rentals.
Where at?
Building a lot of apartments.
Yeah.
Where are they building?
All around, like
I mean,
Hall Street, Broad
yeah.
Street, like all downtown. They building a bunch of stuff.
You're talking to a new Richmond, so you talk the whole street. I know, cause that's my neck.
Broad Street.
Broad
It's the
Street.
main-
Okay. Broad Street. We on Broad Street, right?
yeah.
All right.
You're on Whole Street the other way. We come back now.
Oh, all right.
Come on back down to the city.
There's no Scott's edition.
14th Street.
I'm gonna say just that way.
But if you look at the corridor of take Willow Lawn, I mean, honestly, you could take Broad Street from Short Pump and just drag it on down,
yeah.
right? And you'll see how many commercial. I mean, those are like apartments. How many apartments? How many high rises? How many new developments we see like that? Is it matching what we need for new construction, right? Why are we not looking at, we were talking about that, like having a better use of space for like mixed developments, whereas a portion of it might be apartments, a portion of it might be condos, a portion of it might be townhomes, a portion of it might be single family. Look at Greengate and how, I really think when we talk about city planning, urban planning, that was a phenomenal decision for use of that land and that space because you get the best of both worlds, right? Why haven't we figured out a better way to maximize that in the city of Richmond?
And your fix is what?
More planned developments like that. The development,
like Greengate?
I think, continuing to give. I mean, clearly there's an influx of people coming into Richmond at either short term, long term, whatever the case may be. We've gotten a lot of new companies that have moved into the area, and so we see that housing is not affordable. Housing is an issue, but housing is not the issue, right? Because we can throw up apartments. If those apartment buildings get filled, imagine how many homeowners we can make. That's the problem. Right? We're only halfway touching it because we're just putting people into apartments. We're not putting them into homes. We're not putting them into wealth. We're not putting them into situations in which
affordable housing though too. Like
that's why you got to mix use it.
Yeah, and so like that's what they're gonna be doing like in Creighton Court, that area, right?
So that's what's planned. Well, that is it is not in stone. It is but I think that there's a double-edged sword there. When we talk about disenfranchising and relocating a certain amount of people, a certain demographic of people, and what happens next. So I think really the consciousness around that has to be thought about in ways to, one, the under 300 buyer right now is being left out of the market. Yes. How do we help them? Right? And that's big. How do we help them? The under $300,000 buyer makes about how much money, Mike?
Less than, under 300?
Mm-hmm.
Less than 70,000.
Right. That's most people. Call it what you want. That's most people. At least
less than 70,000. I mean, I would go stretch it to say probably less than 60.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about the fact that that is a large portion of our population, but they don't have access anymore, or they have very, very limited access. How do we help them? How do we make it better? And I think that's where we really have to think about things in our market and as agents and as just like general human beings. How do we make it better for the people that can buy homes? So like I'm ready. Right? I've done everything. My lender told me to do this, and this, but I can't find a house at my price point. That does not feel good. That's not a good feeling.
Demoralizing.
And that's the market that we're in right now. And so it really should be looking to how do we give these people home ownership? They've done everything. You gave them this list. They've done everything that you told them to do, and they still can't get a yes.
Yeah. So help me understand, because I'm from, like I come from a VA loan dominant world back in Virginia Beach, and moving here has been interesting because now, even though I've done several loans, VHDA, all of that stuff, it's still having to learn the demographics or learn just kind of the lay of the land of Richmond in general. What's affordable housing or affordable living? If you had to explain it to a buyer, like what is affordable living in a nutshell? Because I get this question all the time, and I'm like, I do my research a little bit, but I still sometimes feel like I'm missing the, I guess the pinpoint of what they're looking for.
When I think of affordable housing, to me, it's like the same. It's like almost the type of term of like living wage. Affordable housing means the average person like can move into a house and can live in this place. The average person can afford to live here on an average salary.
So is that grants or is that just saying?
Oh, you're saying like how do you implement that?
How do you like how?
It's got to be a combo because you got to be able to subsidize it.
Correct.
Right, and so the AMI, the average median income for a specific area. So let's just take Richmond in general. AMI is
80%.
80. AMI 80 is 50, right? That's $50,000. So that tells you if it's a $50,000 person on their actual salary who can qualify for this, and prices aren't there, we've got to meet them somewhere, and that's with subsidizing by grants and things like that.
Yeah. So how do you feel about if somebody is at the AMI but they haven't done well with with controlling their debt? Should they be awarded something that?
Well, you have to go through a lot of it's not awarded.
Not awarded. Not awarded. I'm just like.
I think, though, there are a lot of guidelines in place
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we successfully give them actionable plans. Like, you think about home or even the Virginia Housing Program. Like, they do try to ensure that they're on very healthy budget plans and things. Now, you can't control what anyone's going to do once they own a home. They might just do what they need to do to get in a house. However, I think that there are things put in place to ensure, to try to attempt to protect them from continuing to make less
worse decisions.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's why they got to be more qualified when you're going through
Correct.
VHDA, when you're going through home.
Correct.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know VHDA, you got to be below 45% debt to income ratio. Mm-hmm. And what that means, that means, what's that, 55% of you should have 55 residual income. Like, you should be well qualified for the house. And that goes back to your point of, like, they want to make sure that the buyers not only well qualified, but they are in a position that if something happens, like, they have enough income to not only just pay VHDA back, but control their debt. Mm-hmm. And like, what about home? Like, if somebody goes to qualify for home, do they have to apply through home?
They have to. So, home is the grant program. You have to pop in whenever. Like,
I got it.
It was like, but you know a lot about home.
I know it too. I'm just trying to give people something that they want. I like hearing it from y'all's perspective because I get these questions a lot, and though I can explain it, I'm still learning. Like, I'm still doing my research on it and trying to find out loopholes or things that they need to be worried about, or do they got to stay in it for 10 years, like all that stuff. Like, I'm still figuring that out because I'd never heard of home before I moved here.
You wouldn't have.
It was just VHDA, and then when I was doing deals in Georgia, it was Achievable Dream or something like that. But like, I never heard of home, so that's why I wanted to hear from like y'all's perspective of what it is, how people can take advantage of it, because I get these questions all the time. Probably every day, if I'm being honest.
I personally haven't dealt with that in the past, so this is new to me. So
come on, get the people what they want.
I'm learning. I'm learning to teach you something.
This is why we bow to you.
Opportunity. Nobody bows to you. Housing opportunities made equal, right? So that is what home is, and home is a program that is, I want to say city funded. It might be state funded, so don't quote me on that. It's funded. It's federally funded, and essentially what it does is it gives up to $15,000 to a first-time home buyer who has been approved by their program to access those funds. Now, home is the same thing. It's income restricted. You have to go through a program. You have to even meet with, what do they call, like a financial advisor or guidance, someone like that, which kind of walks you through the best steps to get you in the position to purchase and maintain your home. Because I think we always talk about, how do we get people in a home? No. How do we also position them to maintain their home as well? Because there's a cost to home ownership. There's not a cost to renting, right? When you're renting a home, what happens? Something breaks, what happens?
Call a guy.
Easy peasy. You don't even think about it. When you own a home, there's no guy to call. It's an expense. It's dollars, right?
Yeah.
And so they really position them for all of those successes. And it is Henrico County and the city of Richmond. Okay. However, just like any program, there are going to be restrictions that prevent, or not prevent, but they want to make sure that when they try to allocate home funds, it is ensuring that they're giving it to the people that need it the most. Okay, I think that's important. I think that it's it is right. It's dutiful. But when it comes to home in this market, it's a little tough. So I would say home is great for new construction buyers, right? So when we talk about North Hills, a portion of North Hills is making sure that those purchasers apply for home funds because it gives them the option to use, if home gives them 15,000, that's 15,000 they can use towards purchase price, down payment, closing costs. Who cares?
Paying down the interest rate.
Whatever they want to do with $15,000, I'll take that. Right? But right. But I think that it's perfect for those things. You get this beautiful new home. One, we're reducing their risk because this is a beautiful new home, so it's less likely to have issues, and even if it has issues, it's covered by warranty, so that's important. And so I think that home is very great for newer homes. The only reason I say that is because in our market right now, we're talking about competition. It might be a little difficult for someone to win using home funds, given that there are other restrictions that go into that. I would say there are other restrictions that go into the inspection process for home that might affect someone's ability to be a little bit more strategic on offering, and so that might diminish their ability to be competitive in our market.
You said North Hills is dedicated to doing
North Hill, a portion of the grant fund. So for the, North Hills has the 8 homes that are allocated for affordable housing, and a portion of the funding that comes from that is, they're giving access to home grant funds to those buyers that qualify.
So we just did a walkthrough on North Hills we just posted it yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Walkthrough Wednesday. Awesome. So you want to tell us a little bit about that development? How about that? Hey, look, shameless plug for our walkthrough Wednesday. Dakia had the pleasure of walking through us one of the North Home model homes, and I'm going to pressure her into telling us a little bit about the development and what's going on over there.
Like we weren't all there. All right, so North Hills at Armstrong Renaissance is 36 home sites, 8 of which are allocated to affordable housing. So you're affordable buyers. And so let me explain what that means, right? So we're talking about at market rates for Armstrong right now are hovering somewhere around 375 ish, up, right? Because that's base, and you got to build a house. Of the affordable ones, the 8 that have been allocated for affordable, those are at 235. Okay. Clearly, there's a difference between the two prices. There's got to be somebody meeting in between, right? But essentially, there's $30,000 in grant funds that are available to those buyers. Those 8 buyers that get those homes have access to up to $30,000. Unheard of. Phenomenal. I have a buyer that's in the program right now, and it's important because we have been searching for a year, trying to find something that was affordable in the city. It just was not accessible, okay, for what my buyer wanted. And so being able to afford him this opportunity in this subdivision is amazing, and very lucky that it did pop up at the time at which we needed him to write a contract. So, but think about what you're doing in the same sentiment, right? You're telling me that my prices for the community, so the average sales price in Church Hill, which is where North Hills is averaging somewhere about $390, right? And I'm getting mine for $235. I'm getting a very not. You're not going to get all the glitz and glam, but you're getting a new house, well built.
It's still in money.
Beautiful, like. You're making off on equity.
Still in money.
This is what we talk about when we talk about instant equity and creating wealth. Now, those are one of those things you keep, right? You hold on to, because you are going to reap the benefits of that equity, and you're going to be put in the position to be able to afford yourself that equity by purchasing in that community. And that is the epitome of affordable housing. There's the epitome of access to affordable housing.
Now, with that said, though, what's the stipulations with this?
That is the epitome of creating affordable housing. Now, there obviously are, for everything where, everyone think about it, right? For everything that they give you money for, there are going to be some restrictions around it. Virginia house. How long you gotta stay in the house?
There's no restriction on how long.
The grant, yes, there is. Yes, there is. You have to
Okay,
own the
what
home
is it?
for a
What
certain
is
amount of
it? Somebody
years.
tell
Like,
me.
they tell you you're supposed to own the
They
home.
tell you that, but you
I'm
I'm a realist. I don't know how to lie. It's not in my blood.
But it's the truth. You literally sign
Yeah,
that says
you want to like they probably prefer you
Yeah.
standing there for what is it, 5 years?
it's 7, I think.
7?
I think it's 7. But that's just the reality. The guidelines
That's
say
what the paper said. Is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
the guidelines
The rules
say
are.
I'm not saying that.
It's hard to make money back off of it, especially if you do the second plus.
the guidelines say you should stay in the house. They want you to stay in the house for 7 years.
And we always advise our clients go by guidelines.
Precisely. There's going to be those same types of deed restrictions or guidelines outlined in, probably anything where they're giving you money. There are going to be some restrictions for it. I think because they want you to, when you talk about homeownership, you're probably buying a house because you want to stay in a house, right? And so they're going to give you some restrictions to give you the desire, so that you understand that you're not making a quick flip.
Yeah.
You want to own a home to live in a home, so here you go, and here are the restrictions that come with that, and that's okay.
Especially if you're giving being able to get $30,000.
$30,000 and almost $150 off of market value. Yeah.
So I had somebody ask me about. So I had somebody watch the video, watch the walkthrough, and they were like, so this is the old site of Armstrong. So
Mhm.
like they knocked down Armstrong High School and built these where it was at.
Mhm.
Okay. And then what did they do with the people that went to Armstrong?
High school?
They go to the other high school.
I mean, it's called Armstrong, right? But what high school?
They go to. With that being said, though, so the other area, what's the plans for the other area?
So
where the field is?
No.
No, so the other area where
we don't know if that's but there are other slated plans, and we don't, they're not in stone, but there are other plans slated to kind of create similar things to this.
Okay.
And that's with, I mean, even look at their, first of all, let's talk about Southside, who they also build, Southside Community Development Authority. They're very similar to Better Housing Coalition, in which that they build affordable housing. So does Maggie Walker. Maggie Walker is another way to access, affordable housing. I mean, Maggie Walker,
which is on a point scale.
Well, it's not the point scale that's important for Maggie Walker. What's important for Maggie Walker is that the land is not owned by the purchaser. So, but the purchaser is buying, again, it's the same thing. You're buying at reduced, you're not buying at market value.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's great, because it's the same thing. It affords purchasers the ability to purchase at a lower price. It just comes with some restrictions. And the restriction on that one is the land is leased back by the purchaser. It's not owned by the purchaser. And what's another one? Project homes. I mean, with Richmond, I will say it's not perfect, but Richmond there are a lot of different options for affordable housing programs, not necessarily affordable housing in the area. And so I think that when we talk about, our Richmond's attempt to make sure that we create some type of affordable housing, it's there. We just need more of it, right? We need more of it because we statistically can show that there's this many people in the Richmond area below this income, and those are your affordable. But not only do you need your affordable, because you can talk about like people that make under 50, right? Those are people going to qualify for the grants and all the extra money. Mm-hmm. What about your people that are somewhere between 50 and 75?
Yeah,
they need it. They need money too.
They can't get the grants.
They can get the junior housing.
Yeah.
And so it's important to talk about them, because anybody really that's making under 100K, which I don't even know if that's enough. It's tough out here when you have an average sales price in the market of $326, and that's not your average buyer. Those are skewed numbers at this point.
And you got kids and life.
It's tough.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think it's tough.
I mean, I see now in other states, people are doing development as far as, the tiny homes.
Mm-hmm. Tiny homes,
so is that
cottages.
A few of that, like in the north side, you got a little bit of that going on.
So you guys know that about the 3D printed home that was...
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Where at?
Williamsburg. It was Williamsburg, right?
I'm not sure.
The
where
first
it's at,
one was
though.
in Williamsburg. There's also one that's being built in Richmond.
That's what I said. There's one out here.
Yeah, I think
There's one out here.
The one that was just released on the news is being first sold was in Williamsburg.
Okay.
There's also one. So I think we talk about, we have had to, as a society, we got to redefine the way that we look at resources and how we use resources. It is cyclical. It happens. Think about how your first houses were built and how they're being built now. And talking 3D printed homes are awesome because it is literally built by ghosts.
Yeah. Put the
and-
formulas in, let it do its thing.
And it looks
I actually was go look into it myself. I was like, okay.
3D printed homes, container homes.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a big one.
Yeah.
The container home.
and you can build something
Yeah. Nice.
nice out of multiple containers. No, so Richmond had the first container home. Might not have. There is a container home and there's a 3D home, but the 3D hasn't been sold. I don't think it's ready yet.
Yeah, all of this.
The container one sold.
Yeah. I seen one on the news as far as the
That was. I'm pretty sure that was
the 3D
Williamsburg.
home, but I wasn't sure where it was at. But it was done. It looked real nice.
How much
too.
did it sell for?
Not sure. They were just basically showing the process and the family being happy walking into the home.
Just to be like, I mean, I feel like just to be like, yeah, I bought the first
Yeah.
3D home.
You got to be cutting costs.
I'm sure they got to be well over asking price.
No.
It was affordable.
It's
housing.
affordable.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
totally missed that now. I
Yeah.
thought it was just somebody building and was like,
I think the one in Williamsburg might have been through Habitat. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. The one here, I think, is being built by Virginia Housing. I want to say.
wow. That's
So I think that as we continue to in thinking about affordable housing, is that transition to different means of creating housing, right? Whether that's 3D printed homes or whatever the case may be, but finding a way to if materials costs increase, there's got to be an alternative to the materials,
Definitely.
and so that's what 3D printing affords us.
Yep.
Where do you think we're gonna see an expansion of housing into all around the Richmond area? Do you have any idea where you or
I'm
what-
confused how this became a questionnaire of me.
I mean, that's why we have guests on so we can question y'all. You have questions for us?
I'm not guessing anymore. I'm
You
part of the game.
you have questions? Do y'all have questions for us?
Where are buyers moving out to? Where's the Richmond market expanding to? We don't have houses
Yeah,
here.
let me tell you one thing. If you want to get a house and you want to get it like on your first try, don't go to Mosley because you're not gonna find.
Why not Mosley, bro? What's going on?
What I'm saying is, my point is that it's hard to get a deal closed in Mosley. It's hard as a buyer. Man, houses are selling for $30,000 over asking, $40,000 over asking. No contingencies. Appraisal guarantees.
That's what we do.
And that's not
It's not Southside. We wish you would stop saying
not
that.
Southside.
So what is it?
Just-
Mosley.
It's Chesterfield. It's
It's
Mosley.
Chesterfield.
That's Southside.
It's
All right.
Nah, ain't nothing yet.
No, I mean, I think so. I think what you're touching on is the important. So, transparency is important when we're talking to buyers in this market. It's really having them understand that, like, hey, you're probably not gonna get it the first time. You're probably not gonna get it on the second time. You might not even get it on the fourth time. Now, if we get it on the first time, we did a good job. We did a great job. But if the seller gets 20 offers, which 18 offers on a house, there's nothing.
Oh, wait,
There's
hold on,
only
sorry.
as far.
By the way, if you want to sell your house and you're over in that Mosley area, holler at the key team. Shameless
We
plug.
have buyers.
We got some buyers.
Oh my God, if we went down the Rolodex of all the things we need for our buyers, like sellers, we got you. We got
Yes.
the buyers.
Yes.
But I think it's understanding that sometimes your buyer didn't lose because they didn't have if you're working with a key team agent, your buyers aren't losing because we didn't advise them to write the best offer. Like when we talk about strategy, we got strategy.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes you just can't compete, and that's okay. And understanding that if somebody comes in and says, here's my $1 million pre-approval, I want this $4,000 house, and here's the $500 I have in the bank, what are you going to do to compete with that?
Yep.
Your average buyer cannot compete,
Right.
And it's understanding that, like, sometimes that's just, it's not the one, not because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. It just isn't the one because somebody came in better than you.
Yeah. So right now it seems like we should be not targeting, but the affordable housing is definitely the key right now.
What we need. is for that subset of the market that I talked about in the beginning. We need them to sell their houses.
Yeah.
Please sell your house. Please, please, please.
And then the thing is, they was like, all right, if I sell one, I'm going.
Well, I'll give
Well, there are a lot of 55 and up communities being developed right now, and even
That's
if that's
true,
not
though.
your jam, like we can find you a house, mostly. But we need you to we need y'all to sell to open stuff up. We've got to. It takes one to create one. So give us something.
Well, why don't we
Please.
just, purchase our own land and we start building our own developments?
I know.
We do land loans. I don't know if they're.
I know. Yeah, me and you talked about it. Me and you talked about
You know,
that.
we do land loans,
The team wise, I've been talking to them like, we can go do our own thing.
I mean, that's. I think that. Well, I think that's
Oh, go ahead. I got something I want to talk about. Go ahead.
different ways to diversify who you are as an agent is definitely, sometimes looking at ways in which you can contribute to development. And I think that that's important, right? We've been talking about it. Like, how do we not capitalize on the market, but find different ways? We know we need to provide homes. How do we do it, right? And not just playing a backseat game to, no, it's not on the market, right? It's almost like, how many times have I said, we might have to go out and start knocking on doors that say, hey, I got buyers. Will you move? Will you leave your home?
Which we have.
Which we
We
have.
definitely have done that.
We're going to play the begging game because we need y'all to move, but we're going to make sure that it's advantageous. But it's the same thing for development, is understanding that, like, okay, the best resource right now is land, clearly. Because if we need houses, got to start with land.
Yeah.
Okay? And then figuring out ways to then give housing with such land.
Where's the land?
There's land everywhere.
That's what I was trying to get at.
I'm really curious.
So-
I mean, like,
I
where?
would probably say, just off the top of my head, definitely the East End,
East
around the
End.
area.
Okay.
Goochland,
Mechanicsville, is that a part of it?
Hanover.
And sometimes you have to look at highest and best use of some things that already might exist. Would this be better slated as a scrape and start over? That's something else, because you're just buying it for the land. You're not buying it for the resources on it at that moment.
Right.
So I think sometimes we look at land as like it's got to be empty. No, it could very well have a house on it.
True.
It can have 7 houses on it,
True.
right? And you can tear down 7 houses to make 3 beautiful houses that are 4 times the value of those 7 houses, whatever.
Yeah, they're just knocking
Right
down that
now, they
house.
definitely for sale.
They just,
That
they
won't
just
be a
knocked down-
problem.
You
They
put
just
a
knocked
stick
down
up,
that
it's gonna
old
sell.
house on Route 5. Close by the 7-Eleven, that old white house that was over there had a well out in the front. You know what I'm talking about?
To the right or left, as you coming up, bro.
On the corner?
Like if you headed towards Ryan, it's on the left hand side.
On the
Okay.
corner?
You know what I'm talking
There's
about?
another one right
There,
there.
was a
beside us,
big,
the
it was
other
a
one.
big old lot by, you know what I'm talking about? Yes, by the neighborhood.
Mhm.
Yep. So they knocked that whole house down. You put probably about 3 houses right there if you wanted to, for real.
As long as you get approved.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about when we talk about, like, always, let's look and make sure we know what's going on in business. But also, it never hurts to be the advantageous agent that's looking at, all right, going down to the counties and the cities and looking at who's buying what, where the transfer is happening, before they even get to the paper. Who's buying what, right? And how do we help them, or like, how do we offer our services to help them?
One of the things I wanted to bring up, I was listening to today on the Snacks podcast. You maybe listen to that. They were talking about business leisure. Y'all, you familiar with that term? Business leisure. It's called bleisure. It's like the mixed term for that. Y'all, anybody familiar with that term? So like business leisure is like, since COVID started, or basically since like COVID, more people were being remote. What they're finding is that more people are traveling. Not traveling as often, but when they're traveling for longer periods of time and working while they're traveling. So, and they're calling that business leisure.
Okay.
So it's like, instead of going for a weekend, you may go for a week or 2, but also work while you're on vacation.
Yeah.
Right. And so what Airbnb is, okay, so like the CEO of Airbnb, I think it was today or yesterday, announced that he's not going to have a house no more. He's going to just live in Airbnb. So like every week he's going to be in a different Airbnb. And that's like basically like, he's going to work from his Airbnbs and stuff like that. One of the things that I thought about was like the opportunity for homeowners or investors to buy properties for Airbnb as business leisure venues, like places that basically people could go stay at. Because like I think now it's more common to get like an Airbnb for a week or a month than you are for a weekend. Like you're way more likely to get longer term rentals at this point, and I think that's where it's
Well, it's
headed
mainly because,
towards.
like you said, people can work from anywhere now.
Exactly.
So where now people can travel and do work while they travel. So I mean, I definitely understand that, but it still goes back to those that can afford it.
Also, is it a long term or is it short term? Is it a short term concept? Yeah. Because as you know, while a lot of companies had to pull back the return to work orders that they had put into place because of the rise in COVID cases, I think though as we begin to transition, COVID has done this, but as we begin to transition, what did your guy say? He said we're now in an endemic.
Endemic, yeah.
Right, which means it's learning to live with what's going on, and so as we transition out into that concept, it is understanding that people got to go back to work. Now, what would be great is if we better understood work lifestyle, which is if people have proven productivity, all of those things for the past 2 years is a 5-day requirement for in-office work life. Like, are you going to be able to rationalize that? Right? If the answer becomes no, this might be sustainable.
Yeah. I know some companies are saying that to where they might just go to like only 2 days in the office or maybe 1 day. I know you see a lot of big companies move from,
You're saving so much money on rent and saving money
definitely.
on, the commercial
those contracts that they have. I mean, they
don't have to
commercial
renew them.
contracts for. I mean, you think about like
Well,
my father-in-law. My father-in-law is works for Wells Fargo,
right,
and he's been remote since he's been working there. I think he's working there for 15 years or so, right? Mm-hmm. And now they're talking about the whole company going back in the office, no matter where you're at, and it's because they've made these, they've got these commercial contracts for not just 5-10 years, it's like for 50 years. So like they can't get out of them because nobody's going to sell those contracts, and now they got to force people to go back to the office.
I mean, there are some of those longer term contracts, but like companies that have the 5-7 year contracts, 2-3 year contracts, they're not going to like for what they can save money now that they're seeing that we're still here.
Yeah,
like what I mean. I know Owens and Minor, they're not going. Like a lot of those people ain't going back to that building. So
I think it's pretty cool that like during COVID, you saw people more happy about working, like because they can work from home. Like your average person, I think your average person probably, they're like, I mean, if I can work from home and watch my toddler and not have to worry about daycare, I'll take that. Or if I can work from home and be home,
you can miss me with that one. I don't want to work from home. Can't watch that baby.
It's different for everybody.
It's different for
me
everybody.
and that baby gonna box.
But your average 9 to 5 or your average just regular person is just like, I mean, I can work from home, roll out of bed 10 minutes before I have to clock in my PJs and not have to worry about anything. Hell yeah, I'll take it.
Well, I guess the reason why I'm even bringing up about the Airbnb thing is because what I'm asking is that an opportunity for us as in the real estate industry to target these type of buyers? Because I'm looking at it as an investor and I'm like, that's an opportunity as far as from an investor standpoint. I'm like, I can just buy a house and just rent it out to people that want to come here on business. Mm-hmm. So why aren't we as real estate professionals looking at that person as a target, or why aren't we? Or what I'm saying is
cognizant of Airbnb rules more than anything.
I was about to say they're cracking down.
And I'm about to say in Virginia it's a little different too.
Very different.
And I think each county
has different
rules are different. Which I said I would start reading too.
Yeah, I mean the regulation is like in flux right now, right? But like that's where all the money's made.
It's hard to put it's hard to make one rule for everybody because everybody is different.
Well, I heard it was funny because I was just talking about this with someone that like was renting out like their apartment as Airbnb, and like they're fully aware that like it was only gonna last for 30 days, but if I made 4 times my rent in 30 days,
makes sense.
I'll be there for 4 months.
Not even matter. I'm gonna get another lease. So I think that like it's a tricky game to play. It's even trickier for a homeowner because, there are fines that are associated with breaking Airbnb laws, and y'all know how nosy your neighbors be.
But here's the thing: is like I think the thing comes down to like short-term leases, right? It comes down to short-term leases, like we were discussing before. Is like with Airbnb, it's like the short-term lease thing in Virginia is kind of how they're right, but we're talking about months at a time.
Well, I think if you're talking about that is actually how you can do it because literally most of the county and city guidelines allow for the long, like It has to be at least
Yeah.
30 days.
And that's so that's what I'm saying. Based on what I've been, like I said, the podcast I was listening to today, they're saying that
Did you name drop another podcast on our podcast?
I didn't say the name of the podcast.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that basically they're saying that trend is changing where people aren't just renting for weekends anymore. They're renting for months at a time. And so if that's true, which is something that has to be measured, obviously, if that's true, then it seems like there's an opportunity there. And so that may be something to look
Yeah,
at.
and I think it all depends on what state you at too. Just kind of, identifying is this the area for that, as far as being in Richmond. So I mean, like Florida, I'm pretty sure they do that. I know when I travel, we do Airbnbs more than hotels now. So
yeah. I agree with Dakia though. I'm like, how long is that gonna last? I mean, if you got boosters and all this stuff coming out, which is a whole different subject, like all this stuff to come out to end COVID, or to not end, but like lessen it as much as we can, then that means people are going to naturally start going back into the office, which means people are probably naturally not going to be doing.
I think what we're saying is people
People
have
exactly don't want to work. They like, I can do anything but go to the office. How about an Airbnb? Like, that's what I'm saying.
So you're saying people who want to just
like
stop
they could
working
go to
and
office
they
or
just
could
buy
go
a
to
house
Florida.
and start doing Airbnbs is what you're saying?
No. I'm saying I work at Home Depot, or I don't know, somewhere where I can work remotely, right?
Okay.
Yeah, if I don't have to go to the office, I could go to Florida.
Yeah, but I'm saying I don't think that opportunity is going to be given to them as COVID gets better.
But people aren't going back to the office, is what I'm saying.
Right now.
I think it all depends just where you're working at, honestly, at the end of the day. But I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I think it all depends on who you work for. If you don't have to go back in the office, of course you would probably want to travel, being able to get back out, go see some family, and being able to work from where you at, you know what I mean, remote location.
I guess where I'm coming from is like we're seeing the increase of remote working. Yeah. And with that, we're seeing the increase of people doing longer term rentals. And with that, you have a new class of investors that are coming in to take advantage of that place in the market. And so somebody needs to service those investors.
Yeah, but even Airbnb is more so to where it's a lot of people that's in the Airbnb world to where they don't own the property.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
So I mean, even if you're not an investor, you kind of do your research on Airbnb, start reaching out to some of these properties that you can identify, and just let them know your idea. I mean, that's another way to go about it, to where it really will cut us out of the deal, honestly.
That's true.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying, though. Like, for me, I got a friend that was looking out South Carolina. He gave me, sent me a text and like, man, I'm going to look at this property. It's only $189,000. And I'm just like, I know people go travel there. It's Myrtle Beach. You know what I mean? So I think that would probably be a good area to buy as far as an investor and just Airbnb the property. So
those tourist kind of areas?
Definitely. And it's where it's warm. I think now, I mean, when the booster and people started travel with me, I'm trying to go somewhere where it's warm.
What do y'all think about the economic growth of Richmond and where y'all see it headed into the next few years? I know y'all, we're all kind of from Richmond. I moved back not too long ago, but I know y'all have lived here most of your lives. You're kind of new to Richmond.
Kind of.
Easy.
My point is like, what do you think about where we are from, maybe 10 years ago and where we're headed? You know what I mean? Like, because it's a huge difference, obviously, from 10 years ago, but like, just the economic growth in Richmond, it seems to be like increasing. Like it's a lot different. Like I feel like we're moving way faster than we were before. And like, where do y'all see that headed? Or what is your opinion on it? Do you see the same pattern, trends?
So the Richmond is different because it's right at DC, right? So we are a 2-hour drive to DC. And there's when you create like companies, intermediaries in between Richmond and DC, they're either going to live in Richmond or they're going to live in Oak. And so where do you think they're going to prefer to live?
Richmond.
We're going to pick Richmond because the prices are significantly lower. But I think
we talked about on the last podcast, but I'm sorry.
I think in general though, Richmond has done a good job pitching for, companies to have their headquarters because it is just that we're 2 hours to the beach, 2 hours to the mountains, 2 hours to DC, the capital of the United States. And so it's understanding Richmond, where Richmond is located is prime for everything. Think about how think about Rockets Landing and how that's like the ship hub, how that used to be the ship hub, or how Richmond in general used to be like a ship hub. It's understanding that Richmond is a locality for its positioning. Okay, and so companies are going to continue to come to Richmond because of the positioning of the location of Richmond. And Richmond's one of those baby markets where like we ain't boomed yet, and we got a ways to go before we boom. But look at Broad Street 10 years ago versus Broad Street today, and tell me that Richmond's not moving.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you look at any area in Richmond now. I mean, the counties and everything. I mean, it wasn't a White Oak when I was growing up. I mean, it's continued to grow. And I think when like my brother been gone for so long, and when they come back home, they're like, man, we got this now, we got that. I'm like, yeah, it's crazy, ain't it? And I guess we take it for granted because we see it every day. We live here, but I mean, I think it's going to continue to grow. It's going to have to. Yeah. And then, like you said, I guess more people moving here, more businesses coming here. I know we got Facebook here now, and
yeah, there's more businesses coming out here, and that's why I'm like, I see where they're building a lot of these, property, a lot of places for people to live, and it's like we're gonna need it. We need it now. So like, and we're just still growing, and it's like that's where I'm like, well, what is gonna happen here? And I keep on telling my friends, I'm like, look, in my opinion, I'm like, the East End is where you want to be if you're. He's like, don't tell nobody. Keep it secret. No, right. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm not leaving. Like, I'm staying here because it's just going to increase more and more property. That's the only way that you can really go and still be close to Richmond. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. We only have a few more minutes left in this podcast. I wanted to ask you before we get out of here. What are some of the benefits of working with George Mason versus working with one of the larger banks and mortgage companies?
Well, one reason off back, we can shop your rate. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, if you go to Wells Fargo, you get Wells Fargo rate. If you go to Navy Federal, you get Navy Federal rate. You know, we're like a broker where we can shop. We got plenty of investors, so you know anything out there, we're gonna beat most things that are out there. Second part, we're backed by United Bank, so that's our call it subsidiary bank. They're our partner bank, so they have their own products that they don't sell to Freddie or Fannie, which is a big deal. You know, our portfolio loans where you got ARM loans, construction, renovation, land, and just unique situations that we can control. So if you do a regular FHA loan, you got to follow FHA guidelines. There's no way around it. I mean, this is very hard to get around. But we can take that same product and say, all right, well, something happened with that loan. We're going to do it in a portfolio, and we're going to sell it to our partner bank, United Bank. They're a $30 million bank, I believe. So they got money to just, keep. You know what I'm saying? So that alone in itself, that we can have other resources, other products, other options. That's the biggest thing in this market. You got to be creative. Yeah. Like if you just are just a VHDA buyer, it's going to be hard because especially if it says VHDA FHA. They're looking at the FHA part and FHA appraisals are a little different. Right. But if you can say, all right, well, I can go conventional, or I got this, conventional 3% option, or I got this portfolio loan that's a 30-year fix. Like we just got a lot of products more flexible that suits more buyers, so that you're not suited in one. I always say, like you don't go to Waffle House for a steak. You go there for waffles. Like you go there for because you probably hung over and get some good grub, but
and them eggs.
But you want to have options. Yeah, like if you can hire a guy to do your kitchen and your living room and your bathroom for the price, I'm going with that guy instead of going with one guy that's going to give me one quote. So I think that's the biggest advantage of going with us is that and it's not because I'm with them. Like I did my research before I got with George Mason. I shop different lenders. I'm like, hey, I'm looking to move back to Richmond. What y'all got?
I've heard other lenders,
nobody got.
I've heard other lenders say what you're saying about George Mason about George Mason. So
that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
And I didn't believe it. Like my buddy Joe was like, yeah, man, we got this. I'm like, man, you're just trying to get me over there. Like whatever. And then I finally got into it, and a buyer go out and buy a BMW 2 weeks before closing, and now the debt to income ratio has changed, and I got to get creative. If you're at a regular lender, you got to deny that loan. Right. We can go in and say, hey, we don't recommend that.
I'm about to say, we still do not recommend you going to buy a vehicle.
Yeah, we don't recommend that. But like your average lender cannot say that. I don't care what they're saying. They can't. because
Right.
there's not a lot of people that have the backing of a bank,
Right.
and we do. And our bank is not just a bank; it's a strong, solidified bank that they have products that nobody else can offer. So that's what I would say. I mean, just the option, and you get to work with this guy named Mike. I mean, I don't know him, but I think he's pretty chill. I think he's pretty chill, just what he gets off. But that's probably what I would say.
Awesome. Appreciate it. So Dakia, I know that you're the managing broker over at ICON Realty. You want to tell us some things? Why should realtor join
Wow.
ICON? Why should realtors join ICON?
Okay, so why should an agent join ICON?
Yeah,
Several reasons. The biggest of which is training, right? I think sometimes as agents we get into the industry and we think that what was afforded to us in real estate school is going to make us the perfect realtor, and it's actually like nothing. It gives you the basic and the laws to make sure you don't break the law, right? But learning the tools to actually be a great agent, that is a fundamental that is only taught by having a good broker behind you. And I hope that y'all would agree that y'all get that from me.
You definitely do.
I love it. I love it here.
I love it
and
here.
how it goes, yeah.
I mean, it's broker support, it's training, and it is that literal push, right? We want to make sure that we're not just creating good agents, we're creating great agents, right? I tell y'all that all the time. We try to foster an environment where we create the best of the best, and understanding that you can play with any big boy in the game, right, and be just as great. You've got Katina, who has 17 years in the industry and has built a name for herself in the Richmond market that says when you hear ICON, it's synonymous with greatness, right? And we hope that every agent that comes to ICON feels the same thing. I've seen the reviews, I've heard from y'all, I know that that's the truth. I know that people come to us literally for the fact of, I couldn't call my broker, but I know that every time I call you, if you don't answer, you'll call me back. And if I can't get you, I can get Katina. And if I can't get them, I can get another team member at the firm, right? That collaborative fostering environment is something that it is amazing how we've been able to foster at ICON, and I don't take it lightly because I know what it's like not to have that, right? I know what it's like not to feel like I could call on my broker to help me. I know what it feels like, to kind of just feel like a fish on an island, or is that the phrase? Y'all know I get all of my things wrong.
I hope I don't feel like a fish on an island. That don't sound like something I would like.
By myself and unable to breathe or get water.
You did.
And I think that we're always in tune to the market, so we teach you how to be strategic. We really just want to make good agents and give you that environment that fosters that. And so that's why everybody should come to ICON. Because we're not selling 5 deals a year, we're not selling 10 deals a year. Our agents are producing, and I love that. I love to see it.
Awesome. One more question for you is, what do you feel like the key team has to offer sellers and buyers that
everyone else can?
Right. Yeah,
all right,
exactly.
So you guys know I'm not in the business of comparing ourselves. What I will say, the key team, when we created the key team, we created it for 2 reasons. Well, 3 reasons, right? I saw where there was a hole in the market of agents or of the understanding that customer was first, customer satisfaction was important, and right, the relationship is 100% important. And so when we talk about the key team, we are talking about making sure that I don't want a one deal with my clients, right? You're not a deal, you're not a transaction to me, you are a relationship. And just as I would my significant other, I want to take care of you, I want to rub your back, and I want to foster you. And every agent on this team does the same thing. This is a relationship. And it's not just a relationship from the time I meet you to the time you sign that contract. Our clients know you're going to keep hearing from me. Don't think I'm going to let you go. Birthdays, holidays, anniversaries. I want to be a part of your life for life, right? And I want an agent that wants to be a part of my life for life. I want an agent that remembers my kid's birthday. I want an agent that, sees when my dog died on social media, that they send me a card that says, I'm so sorry about the loss of your dog. Want to make sure that you always know we're always here, even just to be an ear, right? And that you're always getting the best guidance on the market. You're getting the savviest agents that have designations that drop 10 times down their name, right? That is what the key team offers. We offer top of the line marketing, top of the line advertising, and top of the line skill. It's just unheard of. It's unmatched.
And one thing I do know about the Key team, and one of the things I love about being on the team is that we're here to support you. We're here to support our sellers, our clients, our sellers, our buyers, and our clients, and each other as well. So one thing you can be sure of with the Key team is that we will not drop the ball. We got you covered. Thank you for joining, chopping it up with the Keys. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Dakia, for joining us. And y'all see us next time. Keep it P. We pushing P over here.